The bold and unapologetic Jonita. Jonita. Hey, they're not ready for me yet.
We are.
But now they are. Trying to please others. And I'm not saying that I'm not doing that now.
I don't know if you're still talking about music. No,
We are. I'm talking about my career only. Even my Lollapalooza outfit, I don't think she liked it very much. Shit that comes, and you just have to ignore it.
Absolutely.
And I have to tell my mom and my dad and my family this also because they'll start.
Hello, hi guys, this is Bhavna and you're watching India Today. Well, if there's one artist who's really been pushing the boundaries and how, it is Jonita Gandhi, and I'm so glad to be joining her here. I mean, I remember watching you at Lola this year and I was just like, why haven't I seen her live more? I need to watch you perform live more.
Hiding.
More.
That's why.
That's true, she's been hiding because she's just like, oh,
They're not ready for me yet.
we are.
But now they are. With my new song also, I feel like literally that's all I'm saying. You weren't ready for me and now
Now we all are.
it's time.
No, but firstly, a huge welcome to India Today.
Thank you so much.
In the last 2 years, you've really pushed yourself to do so many things, not limiting yourself to one genre, one language. You've really done everything. Is it hard for a musician like you to be able to manage all of this while keeping your individual identity intact? Because I think a lot of times people lose that in between all of this.
I think you're right, but I feel like that needs to be sorted first. And I realized that a little later in my life, I guess, where it's like I was doing a lot of things that were just coming my way and I wasn't thinking so much about who I am in the process. But then the last few years, I've really started to focus on bringing out my own personality and choosing to do things that I just really want to do because they resonate with who I am.
Yeah.
Or what I like to hear or what I like to see or how I like to move or whatever. Something needs to be aligned with me. It shouldn't just be like a job for hire thing. Because music actually ultimately is expression.
Yeah.
I know like a lot of us do different jobs and everything out of necessity and everything too in this same career. But I feel like trying to achieve a balance is very important.
I think you've learned that art really well.
I'm still learning.
No, I mean, it's a work in progress always. But like you said, that you've kind of, in the last 2 years, you've kind of come to recognize who you are and what you want to tell.
Yeah.
At this point, if I ask you, what does Jonita represent or her music wants to represent, what would it be?
The phase I'm in right now is I want to represent being a little less of an overthinker and more carefree. I feel like I've always lived my life trying to please others. And I'm not saying that I'm not doing that now.
It's hard to let go of that trait.
But, like, don't quote me. But I'm trying to be a little more unapologetically me. And I think a lot of people don't really know who I am. Or
True.
Even my personality doesn't really come through. Like, they'll hear my Bollywood songs, for instance, and they'll hear like a Vida Karo, and it's a beautiful song, and I love that song. But if you hear that, you won't necessarily have any idea what I am as a personality, right?
True.
So now I feel like the music is starting to speak for me. Like my own music is starting to, and I'm the face of my own voice, which is great. I'm having so much fun. It's like dancing and singing and performing and, being who I really want to be.
Yeah. Does it ever get overwhelming though? Because like you said, your individual music, your independent music says so much about who you are as a person versus the music that you do for Bollywood, which is a mixture of everything, right? Because it also depends on what the story is. It really is more dependent on those things, right?
Yeah.
Does it get overwhelming sometimes? Because while you're doing that, your most popular songs also belong to this genre sometimes. Do you feel just to strike that balance and ensure that you don't lose your identity in that? Sometimes
It's very complicated, guys.
Yeah.
Me and my team, we've spent so much time discussing literally this.
Yeah.
It is easy to get lost in it, and sometimes it's easy to look at it.
Yeah.
There's always different ways to look at it, right? So I always choose to look at it as a blessing. Like the fact that I have the platform that I have that's come to me from Bollywood is a really big deal. A lot of people would really, really die for that. And I feel like the amount of time, years, effort I put into building that is an asset. I don't want to look at it as a bad thing, because sometimes I feel like, oh my God, but that's not me. Like, there's an easy way to, it's easy to say that and look at it as like a bad thing. Like, oh, but like now I feel like I have an identity crisis and people don't know who I am. Like, I do say stuff like that, but I still try to look at everything I've done as a positive. And now it's like, that's my basis now to like educate people on who I actually am. The same people who are listening to my Bollywood music, even if like 5 of them maybe listen to the new stuff and now they get to know my music because of the Bollywood stuff, like that's a plus. Like,
Absolutely. And that is happening. I mean, especially in the last 5 years, I see that change where independent music is getting so much love. In fact, more love than other music, you know.
Actually, it's a good time for
I think, and especially in India, to have that kind of a change, to see that shift is huge, because I think predominantly we were always focused on Bollywood. I see that change a lot, where the top songs in the playlist are no more Bollywood.
Yeah, you're right.
And I think that's
it's kind of crazy if you think about it.
But has that also helped musicians to change the way they're looking at everything? Because I think earlier the intent to do Bollywood songs was, okay, let's just get the initial, you know, eyeballs and like listeners to get to hear your voice and then maybe shift that. But I think now we can be bold enough to just choose better.
There's a lot that goes into releasing a song. When it's a Bollywood song, then as a singer, at least, we're not really part of the release process. We're not like investing in the song, marketing, and worrying as much about all those things.
Correct.
But when we release a song as an independent artist or a non-film artist, whatever, then we have so many things to think about and be involved with. And I feel like that's the thing that's a little more intimidating. But to see that there's success happening in the non-film space is very inspiring. It makes us feel like, okay, people are ready to listen to non-film music also. And that's the space where, because we have a say in all the different verticals of a release, we now have more control.
Yeah.
So now we can release a song the way we want to release it to and build a story around it and have the branding all be aligned.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an opportunity, and it's a lot more hard work and a lot more investment of time and money.
Yeah.
But I think it's way more fulfilling, because now you can say exactly what you want to say and portray yourself exactly how you want to be portrayed.
And that's exactly what you're doing with Beparwai. Yeah, you are the bold and unapologetic Jonita.
Jonita. Hey.
I love it. I think we did get to hear it at Lola, like I have already mentioned. Yeah. But I think
I was very impatient. I just started playing the song when it was done, even though it wasn't released.
No, but I think I already like the vibe of it. I love the lyrics, because I feel like, especially to all of us who have individually and personally seen a change within ourselves, where we perhaps for the longest time were worried. I'm an overthinker, so I exactly know what you are talking about. In fact, sometimes even when I'm asking questions, I'm just overthinking. Oh my God, should I be like asking it like this? Maybe I could do it better. We just constantly overthinking. And then ultimately we reach a point where we are just like, you know what? It's okay. Let's go with the flow. Let's be who we are. I think, when did you reach that point where you're just like, I'm going to be Beparwai now?
So I think, like I said, Brigitte, this is me manifesting being Beparwai and being more careless. Because it's a journey, like we said earlier, it's a process. You don't just like wake up one day and be like, I don't care what the world thinks anymore.
Absolutely.
It doesn't happen like that. I have my good days and my bad days. I was definitely having a good day when the song was created. And big shout out to Mythica, who's written the song and the lyrics so beautifully. I think there's a lot of times when you wake up and you think about experiences where you're just like, why did I care so much about what that person thought? Like, I put myself in so much distress trying to decide something because one opinion affected me.
True.
And then you look back and it's easier to see in hindsight that it's like, wow, I would have saved a lot of time if I just did what I wanted.
That is so true.
And when those thoughts start building up, then you get into this Beparwai mode where you want to write music about how, like, I'm done, like, wasting time and energy. I don't care if someone falls in love with me or not. I'm going to do what I think is right and what I love to do. And then if you're here for it, stay. If you're not, bye. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. I don't know if you're still talking about music, though. That's fine.
We are. I'm talking about my career only.
Because I feel like
boys.
Because I feel it's also true for life in general.
Oh, I thought you were joking about, like, you thought it was about a boy, because all music stems to like from relationships and like heartbreak or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But that was probably part of it.
See, I get it.
I'm not even gonna lie.
No, but I feel like, but is there a way? I mean, because like you said, Beparwa comes with a lot of pros and cons at the same time. Like when you
Yeah.
decide to be careless, you also have to shut down a lot of voice, especially coming
It's
from.
very difficult. Like social media is one thing, all the comments, all the Reddit feeds, or whatever. Like I've just realized exist.
Oh, do you ever go on Reddit?
I don't
feel
go
it's
on Reddit, but I
it's a
just found
trap.
out that
Yeah.
lots of things are being said about lots of people.
Yeah, it's a trap. I feel like once you start scrolling and you can't stop.
Yeah, so this is why I don't go, but people show me things. They'll be like, "Oh, look!" Like anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, then there's my friends, then there's my family. Like I'm
Yeah.
always like, I love my mom so much, but I'm always like a little afraid of her. Like even my Lollapalooza outfit, I don't think she liked it very much.
Ma'am, it was so hot. I mean, come on.
I know, but like moms
She's a
are
rock
gonna,
star.
like, do moms want their kids to be hot? I don't know. Like this is like,
Yeah, that's true. That's
we're not
true.
loving ourselves enough. We're just worried about other people.
That's true. But when did you reach that point?
That's what I'm trying to say. I reached it this morning, but day before yesterday, not so much. So I mean, it's like
I think it's all for all of us, right? Like
Yeah.
one day you feel like, oh, I can own the world, and the next day, can I really?
yeah, it's a journey.
But how do
Good
you
days and bad days.
how do you manage the bad days then? Because more than the good days, it's important to manage and look at yourself kindly on days when you can't.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Oh my God, I can't sometimes, to be honest. Like it's tough for me too. There are days where I will just be in a bad mood because I don't feel great about myself because XYZ happened, or I saw something on Instagram, or someone told me something, or whatever. The one thing I always remind myself is it'll pass.
Yeah.
And that keeps me grounded. Because I'm like, you know what? I'm allowed to take 2 hours right now to sulk. It's okay.
Yeah. You should.
Let me cry about this.
Yeah.
I think it's normal. And if I don't cry about it, it'll be stuck in the back of my brain. And I haven't processed it. And then it'll make me like bitchy the whole day.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I did now. Anyways,
You're Beparwa.
exactly. I can say whatever that I want.
Yeah.
They're all like, stop. Don't tell her. Don't tell her to let loose. You'll regret it. I'm not that Beparwa also, guys.
No, I get that sense. We are Beparwa, but I get it.
Whatever makes you feel comfortable. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's the goal eventually.
I think. Anyways, what were we talking about?
You were talking about your process, like on the bad day, how do you kind of
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I just let myself
be and feel everything?
experience that
Yeah.
negative, whatever emotion it
But
is.
can I ask you, because it's very hard for me to understand, I've never come across any criticism for your music.
Me?
Personally, yes.
Have you gone on Reddit?
I have to confess,
I
I don't
haven't.
read
Okay.
Reddit because, like I said, I
I don't know
consciously
if it's
try.
there or not.
No, but
you guys tell me. I'm
but
just
otherwise-
assuming there must be something bad.
see, that's the thing that humans do. We always assume that there's something going to be bad
Hot.
instead of thinking that, what if people are just writing that, oh my God, where is Jonita? Why isn't she doing more music? Maybe that's what the
Maybe.
Reddit is saying.
Maybe. I'm
You
sure
know?
there's a little bit of everything. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
no, but like for me, I've never really come across any criticism for your music
Okay.
because I feel like people really enjoy the sound that you bring because I feel it's refreshing in its own way within the genre. Even if it's Bollywood, it's still like the moment you hear it, it's Jonita Gandhi's song. And I think that's very difficult, especially
Yeah.
in Bollywood, to create that space
I'm
for
really
yourself.
happy you said that. I used to think that that's not the case. I
No,
used to
it
think
is.
people would not be able to recognize my voice. But now that it's happening, it's great.
No, I think you really underestimate yourself a lot in that
I do
sense.
that. It's another problem. I feel like I should talk to my therapist after.
You should. And can the therapist just tell her that she's doing great?
And we should play the therapist my song. Be like, this is what I'm manifesting.
No, but I was coming to this that how do you look at criticism sometimes? Because like you said on social media, it could be unhinged. Like people sometimes don't know where to draw a line.
Yeah.
Have you
They go for
ever, like I have never come across anything wrong, anything negative for you, but have you ever come across something which really kind of affected you in a good and bad way? Sometimes criticism can be constructive wherein you're like, okay, maybe this is something I can incorporate in my next set.
Yes, I think so. The criticism that I count more than the random comments are like my peripheral like team, basically. I have very critical people around me, thank God. Like, I'd rather have that rather than like yes men. And I do feel like people are there to kind of check me and make sure things are not, like, I'm not getting delulu, if you know what I mean.
So
those
that's my life.
those opinions I take a little more seriously when it comes to incorporating feedback into improvement. But yeah, of course, when you read things, you do subconsciously, if not consciously, start to kind of incorporate the feedback because it's like, if you start noticing a lot of the same kind of feedback, then it's going to make you want to...
But then you're just like, okay, maybe there's something to improve there.
Of course. Which I think is a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. As long as, like, you're, again, not being delulu about it, because some people just say things to bully you or whatever.
Yeah, true.
So determining that is always a challenge. But I think I have enough self-awareness that so far, it's so far so good. But to answer your question, very shortly, ignore.
Yeah.
So there's so much shit that comes and you just have to ignore it.
Absolutely.
And I have to tell my mom and my dad and my family this also because they'll start, spending time reading the feedback and seeing the comments, whatever. And then sometimes it's not nice.
Yeah.
Because people just want to get attention also. They don't have other things to do. And you just have to ignore it.
What's that one thing that you incorporate? Or perhaps, let me ask you this, because I feel like you are the best judge when it comes to seeing how you have evolved as an artist over the years. What's that one thing that has changed or evolved about Jonita in the last 3 years, especially?
I think I'm taking a lot more ownership in my life in general. I'm making choices based on like my own growth and personal journey as an artist, and not so much about, is that going to pay me really well? Or I think like I don't want to upset that person, so I should do that project. I don't want to ruin the relationship. Like now I'm just like, hey, if I have a relationship with that person, they'll understand. I'll explain to them why I don't want to do it, and they'll want to support me, and it'll be fine. And if they don't want to support me, then it's time for us to grow apart.
Oh, wow.
So this is Beparwai vibes, right?
So yeah,
that's the change in the last 2 years. I've become a little more unapologetic about what I want.
That's really cool. But also that makes me wonder, on days, especially back then, when you perhaps did not have that choice, or you felt like you don't have a choice because you're kind of trying to make your way inside the industry. Were there days where you had to do things where you were perhaps not aligned with as an artist? And do you ever sometimes, I mean, we don't have to name the project, but do you ever regret doing anything like that?
I definitely have worked on songs that I don't believe in. I definitely have a lot of clutter. If you go to my Spotify, of songs that like I don't even remember singing because I would have done it thinking like, oh, okay, it's a check or whatever. Or it might lead to something else. And then now I do kind of, I don't know if regret, but like I kind of wish I was a little more picky from the beginning. But I also understand that you can't be picky in the beginning because you're kind of taking what you can get. You can't, you don't have access to everything then. So nothing seriously that I regret, but definitely a lot of choices that if they came like my way now, I would choose not to.
Absolutely, because I feel like sometimes people say, oh, live life with no regrets. I think it's overrated when they say that you always regret something in life. And regret does not necessarily mean that you're sulking over doing that.
Correct,
it's just like, I wish I had done it different.
Yeah, I think that's totally normal.
Yeah,
that's how
absolutely.
we learn and grow,
But now when you meet people and when you have to politely say no, have you learned that art, or you're very uncomfortable doing that?
I'm a little non-confrontational.
Yeah, because I can sense that from your style.
People who like are watching this, there's probably going to be at least like 1 or 2 people who end up seeing this who say, bro, you didn't respond to my message.
Yeah,
and it's because I didn't want to say no.
So you get the hint.
Oh my God, I don't know why I'm saying this. Basically, again, it's a work in progress. But I'm getting more and more comfortable. Like, I will go the extra mile if it's somebody I know well, properly, to explain myself and then politely decline. And so far, it's been fine.
Yeah, I think so, because
offense,
I don't know, when I look at the top songs in your discography, I'm just like, wow, she really has a range, which is very difficult in today's time, honestly, to have that range. Also, with live singing, can I just put that not many people sing that great, especially in lives, because I've seen so many artists who really disappointed when they're singing live versus when we see the recording. You are great at both.
Thank you.
How much effort does it take to be able to look that well, present yourself because it's a job. It's not like, oh, it just happens like this. It's a literal job.
It's funny because recently somebody was talking about going to the gym and training, and he's an engineer. So he's like, I train for fitness, for health. I'm not an actor or a model. So I don't need to train like seriously. Like I don't need to get a trainer. And I was like, bro, like what about singers? Why is it only actors and models that need to be fit? Singers need to be fit.
Absolutely.
Performing artists in general need to be fit. And I feel like, and I'm not saying from like a visual thing, I'm not saying you need to be a certain shape. I'm just saying fit. Because it takes a lot of stamina to, I mean, in my case, sing and dance at the same time, which is something I take pride in. I like performing in a way where I'm also moving. And I love to dance. So, and then also in my music videos too, like there's a certain level of fitness required to be able to do a choreography shoot where you're dancing nonstop and rehearsing and then doing a take and then you have to do it again because the angle was wrong, whatever. And then each time bring the energy and everything, right? So, it's a lot of work basically to answer your question.
No,
but
it is.
I love it. So
no, and also because I think this shift we have seen in the last 2 years where because in India, for the longest time, we did not have artists who would perform and sing at the same time. I think we have seen that a lot in the last 2 or 3 years, with Sunidhi also going through a body transformation to be able to do that. Because in the West, this has been a knob for the longest time. I think we have now understood that we could also do that. Has that made you think differently when it comes to performing on stage? How far you can take it? How can you engage the fans? Because again, it's literal work. You have to really think everything when you're doing all of that.
I think that people like Sunidhi are definitely like inspiring us to like realize that we can keep pushing. You know, there's still more that we can do. I've always aspired to be like the Beyoncés and you know, Christina Aguilera's of the world or whatever. Like where they're performers as well. They're not just, and like Lady Gaga, for instance. And it's a whole 3-dimensional thing. Like you have to be able to act also. You have to be able to express yourself like in your face also if you're telling a story. And that's what we're doing as musicians. We're telling a story. It's also a visual form. It's not only audio, which a lot of playback singers end up getting like pigeonholed into this audio space. So yeah, I think remembering that it's like a holistic thing is what inspires me to keep working on myself.
Absolutely. And can
I
I
don't
just
know if I answered your question.
No, it makes sense. I mean, it is
I forgot what the question was.
No, that it's a lot of work. Like, do you plan everything? Like, how do you want to engage the fans? Because again, people might think that it's very like spontaneous. Of course, it is to an extent, but you have to also think.
How you want to do that. It has to make sense. Because, at least for me,
because you can control what you can do, but not really the audience. So you have to be very like receptive to everything that they're doing, which has been the best place that you've performed so far, live especially.
I'm so biased because we talked about it, but my favorite performance till date is my set at Lollapalooza.
Oh,
yeah, by far.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I have to say the crowd was really great.
The crowd was crazy. It was sunset. So the vibes were
immaculate.
My God,
I still have the visuals, by the way.
Yeah, with like the sky just turning beautiful colors and
with your music, it was just crazy.
It was sick. And then also just we put on like an act that day.
Yes,
so,
you did.
Like I've never done before. So.
And I think that you went a bit unhinged as well, especially you're performing your own songs, but like...
I played Never Have I Ever on stage with an audience. I mean, I still think that's hilarious because that's me at house parties. So I could literally be myself. Like my friends saw the clips of it and they're like, you took it to the stage. Like I'm always the person at the party where everyone's like, oh my gosh, she's gonna say, let's play Never Have I Ever. Literally ask any of my friends. They're always annoyed with me because when we're drinking, we play Never Have I Ever if I'm around. And that's why they're like, I can't believe you did that on stage.
But that's why it was so entertaining. I'm telling you, I had so many people around me who were not perhaps Indians, and I had like a lot of other nationals as well, and they were really grooving to your music.
Okay, so
and I think that is amazing, right? But also, I think in the last few years, you have kind of like collaborated, if not on a song, but also like performing on stage with artists like with Ed.
Yeah,
I remember I really like enjoyed that. I mean, I've seen clips of it on social media, and then with Rahman, so you've done. And I think it's not something that is new to you. Since the beginning of your career, you have been in your own capacity doing it, which was, I mean, it was not a norm earlier. It's become a norm now.
Yeah.
But tell me, how has that experience kind of changed you, especially when you share stage with renowned artists like Ed, who's globally known face? I mean, has that experience kind of like made you change something?
The one thing I feel, like I love the fact that I've been collaborating since the beginning. And I've seen this, I mean, I'm biased, but I see this in me that I don't see in a lot of other artists who don't collaborate as much. I feel like it's a very humbling thing, and it has made me a hard worker, because when you are responsible for playing a role in someone else's production, it's a very different amount of pressure. I feel like, especially if it's somebody who you really respect, like an Ed Sheeran or like an Rahman or whatever, you now feel like you don't want to personally let that person down. At least this is how I've seen it. So it's really pushed me to go the extra mile, to brush up my skills, to like be able to, okay, fine, sacrifice sleep the night before the show to learn that extra like line or like rehearse that extra part of the song. And it then, I think, inspires me to bring that same A-game energy to my shows. Because I'm like, if I'm doing that for their shows, I should be doing it for my shows too.
Absolutely.
And it took me a long time to get here, because initially I used to have my own like wedding shows, my own band shows. And then I used to perform with AR, Sir, like Salim Suleiman, Amit Trivedi, Pritam, like everybody else also kind of featuring on their sets. And their production was always higher, because obviously they're way more renowned, established artists, right? More expensive shows. And I used to not enjoy doing my shows. I used to only like look forward to doing other people's shows. And I found that was a big problem. And then I was like, let me try to figure out what I can incorporate. What do I like about their shows that I can somehow sprinkle into my shows, so that I'm representing like all the things I can do and be versatile on my show, not just on other people's shows. So that's been a great learning.
And I think you have incorporated that well, because I feel like we really enjoy your shows. I don't know. I think you should start enjoying it as well.
I am now.
Yeah, because
now
it's just
I'm
crazy.
Now I'm unapologetically Beparwai mode. Bindas performing.
Bindas performing. But again, I know I don't have a lot of time, but I really want to ask you this. One of your assets is that you can really sing in so many languages, and also English, because I think that has been a concern for the longest time, where people, especially around you, would be like, oh, but when Indian singers or singers of Indian descent, perhaps, if I may put it like that, sing in English, there's always a reservation that they face, because people are just like, oh, we don't know, why are you trying to sing in English? You can just sing in Hindi or other languages. Have you ever felt that? And if not, has it ever worked for you? I think people look at you differently because you can sing in different languages.
I've not faced that, touch wood, yet. I hope I don't also. I do, for when I'm speaking or singing in other languages, I go the extra mile, at least with whatever's in my control, to get the pronunciation right. So that people don't say that. Like, I think it's one of my fears that somebody would say, why did you get her to sing this song? You should have gotten a native speaker of that language. Like, that shouldn't be the case, because that's true. Like, there are so many great, talented people out there. And who like speak the languages that I'm singing in. So I always try to bring like a Jonita factor to the song, so that people don't say that. And then I do think it's a strength of mine, the fact that I can like relate to so many more audiences because I sing in their language. So like, I would love if someday one of my songs blows up, like I would love to record the same song in like so many different languages and make it more accessible to audiences.
The one language that I am really looking forward to seeing you sing, perhaps, is Korean. Because I feel like K-pop is something that I am really addicted to at this point.
Foreshadowing.
I am.
Maybe.
And we recently, of course, saw NMIXX, a very renowned K-pop group, mention that they would really like to collab with you because they really loved your voice.
NMIXX, I would love to collab with you too. That's my official response.
Is something already happening? Maybe, we can drop a hint on India Today.
Honestly, not yet. But if something happens, I'll definitely tell you, because I know you'll want to know.
I would definitely want to know and tell it to the world.
We're manifesting it now.
Are we?
Officially.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go.
NMIXX Jonita.
Let's go.
When does it release? Hopefully by the end of this year.
Let's.
आप मैनिफेस्ट इसे कहते हैं कि हम डेट भी दे नहीं हम डेट भी दे रहे हैं मैनिफेस्टेशन किसे कहते हैं we are already saying that it is going to happen by the end of this year
soon. I'm drinking.
No, but thank you so much, Jonita. I feel like I love this Beparwai self of yours because I feel like you have, I mean, there's nothing limiting you if you don't limit yourself. And I'm so glad that you're literally unleashing that side to you now.
Thank
And
you.
there's so much more.
There's so much more, guys. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Okay, let the music play like they say.
Let the music play.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jonita. And
Thank you.
all the very best.
Thank you.